forestry. The Motueka catchment is large and complex, but over the past few years, some of its mysteries have been unravelled by both scientists and users. One of the best ways to gauge the health of a waterway is to find out what's living in it. So staff from Fish and Game, the agency representing the interests of fishermen, do regular trout counts on the Motueka and its tributaries. Today, the Wangapeka River, which starts high in Nelson's Western Ranges, is to be surveyed.
The water in this part of the country is amongst the clearest there is. About the top 5% of the country sites have about 7 metres of visibility. This river is frequently in the order of 12 metres. Some of the rivers in the Nelson Lakes are over 20 metres, and the Waikarapupu Springs is 62 metres, which is internationally some of the clearest water in the world.
Fish and Game's local manager Neil Deans counts himself lucky any day he spends in the field.
12.7 metres.
Colleague Lawson Davey has measured how far he can see the black disc through the water. But the main job for divers is drifting down the Wangapeka counting trout. They stay in line, and in these clear waters they can spot even the shyest fish. They make regular stops on the way so Lawson Davey can keep tally.
3, 8 large, 2 medium, 4 small.
It's not too bad in here because the numbers are few, but waterproof notes, it's great stuff. So where you get big tallies with counting several hundred fish, you soon forget how many you counted. So we normally stop at the end of each pool and or end of each run and do a tally. And the main thing is not to lose a pencil.
These waters are much prized by international trout fishermen. Thanks to pressure from Fish and Game, the Motueka is protected by a conservation order, which among other things limits the amount of water which could be taken by irrigators.
I guess it was the conservation order that spurred a lot of angst and anxiety amongst different parts of the community, but it caused us all to sit down and work out, well, what was important in the system. And I guess we've exposed the links that we have and the things we have in common, as well as the things that concern us about what one another do. And I think there is a fair measure of community interest. Certainly, there's no argument, for example, from landowners here that the trout fishery is important to the community. And similarly, we understand that people have to make a living off their land use, be it forestry or whatever the other activity is.
The clear waters of the upper Wangapeka flow out of bush-clad mountains, but other tributaries of the Motueka, for example the Sherry River, wind their way through farmland. Dairy farmers are often accused of degrading rivers and streams, but Nikki Bevan is committed to looking after her river. A few years ago, Nikki and her neighbours decided they'd clean up the Sherry River and make it swimmable again.
It's probably a key link to every farm, as most of them have something to do with the Sherry River.
So everybody has to be in it together, really?
Yes, I mean, it's forestry, sheep and beef farmers, dairying farmers. Yeah, we all contribute to what actually the water quality is, yes.
The biggest thing the Bevans have done is to put a bridge across the Sherry to keep cows out of the water.
The river crossing was actually upstream a little bit, and they had to cross the river probably sometimes twice a day. It depended on where the actual grazing was on the farm. So it was actually wonderful that the bridge was actually put here. It's closer to the milking shed. There's less tracking around either side of the Sherry River, and that's really important.
And because it wasn't just walking through, that sort of, basically they pooed in the water, didn't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as a cow, hurts their feet, stones are quite sharp, automatically the tail goes up and deposits in the water.
And the other question I have to ask is the colour of this water. I gather it's almost ready to swim in, but it's a very dark brown sort of a colour, isn't it?
It is. It's called the Sherry River, named after the drink, and you see the colour, yes, you know why. And we've just had rain, so the colour of the water does get a lot deeper in that browny colour when we've had quite a bit of rain.
So that's just a natural occurrence?
Yeah, from your native trees and things, yes.
The Bavins are also making sure they only use as much fertiliser as their pasture actually needs, so none runs off into the river. It's called nutrient budgeting.
So it's an overall picture, really, of what we're doing. And it's going to keep going. I mean, it's not stopping just here. Always looking for new ways to improve.
This, of course, is one of the tributaries of the Motueka, isn't it? So, I mean, how much do you feel sort of part of that great big picture? Because everything you do here is going to be...
Well, it all goes out to Tasman Sea, doesn't it? I mean, virtually, if everybody does their little part along the way, it's going to make huge improvements out there, and that's really important.
Nikki Bavin was influenced by pollution data collected by scientists working on a 3-year project called Integrated Catchment Management for the Motueka. The effect of dairy farming on the river system was just one of the things the scientists looked at. Leading the program was Andrew Fenimore from Landcare Research, who's thrilled people have listened.
I think it was marvellous that the way in which science was able to engage with the local people, show to them what they needed proof of, and then they were able to take the steps to remedy that. And we're still working with that catchment group. In fact, I think that initial work has really helped to, I hope it has helped to build the sense of community among the Sherry River farmers, and that's led to further and further work.
Along with other local farmers, Nikki and her husband Paul are trialling ways to revegetate the riverbank, replacing old man's beard and brambles with native shrubs.
The trees are going to feed what's growing in the river, like your fish life. It's sheltering the river. It's actually is a buffer for our nutrients and everything for the river. So it's actually just such a benefit to the whole environment.
So you must be quite excited, are you, to see what's coming away?
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, you look out and you see and the growth rates, and just to see like it was just a very weedy, horrible bank.
This water's nearly good enough for swimming again. But while dairy farmers are cleaning up, what about the forestry industry?